There's a country with more pyramids than Egypt. It conquered Egypt, ruled it for 100 years, crowned its own pharaohs, and almost nobody has heard of it. This is the empire history forgot to finish telling. More pyramids rise from the sand here than anywhere in Egypt. Over 200 of them, scattered across the Nubian desert of modern Sudan. And yet, ask most people to name the civilization that built them, and you'll get silence. This is the Kingdom of Kush, an empire that ruled the Nile for over 1,000 years, conquered Egypt itself, and gave the ancient world iron, archers, and gold. A civilization so powerful the Egyptians feared it, the Greeks wrote of it, and the Bible named it. So how did an empire this vast simply disappear from memory? Long before Kush had a name in history books, it had a name on the Nile, Ta-Seti, the land of the bow. The Nubians were legendary archers, and Egypt knew it. By 2500 BCE, a kingdom was rising south of Egypt's border at the First Cataract, the rocky rapids that marked the edge of the known world. This was Kush, fertile, gold-rich, and sitting squarely on the trade routes connecting Egypt to the heart of Africa. For centuries, Egypt and Kush were neighbors, rivals, and trading partners, exchanging gold, ebony, ivory, incense, and enslaved captive along the corridor some historians simply call the Nile Corridor of Africa. Then, around 750 BCE, something remarkable happened. Egypt, fractured, weakened, divided among rival warlords, was conquered, not by a foreign invader from across the sea, but by its southern neighbor. King Pi of Kush marched north, took Thebes, took Memphis, and crowned himself pharaoh. For the next century, Kushite kings ruled as Egypt's 25th dynasty, what modern historians call the Black Pharaohs. Kings like Pi, Shabaka, and Taharka didn't erase Egyptian culture. They embraced it, restoring temples, reviving old religious traditions, and building pyramids of their own. Taharka in particular is remembered. He even appears in the Bible, in the Book of Kings, as an ally against the Assyrian Empire. For a moment, Africa's two great river civilizations were one. It didn't last. The Assyrian Empire invaded Egypt with iron weapons the Kushites couldn't match. By 656 BCE, the Kushite pharaohs were pushed out of Egypt entirely. But Kush didn't collapse. It retreated south and reinvented itself. The capital shifted to Meroe, near the Nile's fifth cataract. And here, Kush did something extraordinary. It mastered ironworking on a massive scale. Meroe became one of the great iron-producing centers of the ancient world, so productive that some archaeologists have called it the Birmingham of Africa, referencing the British industrial city. With iron came stronger tools, stronger weapons, and a flourishing trade network reaching to Rome, India, and China. Kush also developed its own alphabet, Meroitic script. It's beautiful. It's been partially deciphered. And that detail matters more than it sounds. Because we can read the letters, but we still don't fully understand the language they spell. This is where we arrive at the real question. Why did such a powerful, sophisticated civilization fall out of the world's memory? The answer isn't one event. It's a convergence of several. First, the language barrier. Meroitic script was in use for roughly 1,000 years. But unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs, cracked open by the Rosetta Stone, no equivalent key exists for Meroitic. We can pronounce the words. We largely cannot translate them. A civilization can't fully tell its own story if no one alive can read its writing. Second, Kush was mostly documented by other people. Egyptian scribes, Greek historians, Roman writers. They all wrote about Kush, often through a lens of conquest, rivalry, or condescension. The Kushites left monuments, but the surviving narrative accounts largely come from outsiders looking in, not insiders looking out. Third, geography worked against preservation and access. Kush's core territory sits in modern Sudan, remote, desert-locked, historically harder for archaeologists to reach than the Nile Delta or Cairo. Fewer excavations over the centuries meant fewer discoveries reaching the public. Fourth, and maybe most simply, Kush stood next to Egypt, and Egypt is one of the most mythologized civilizations in human history. Tutankhamun's tomb alone generated more global fascination than most of Kush's entire archaeological record combined. When the world tells the story of the ancient Nile, it tends to stop at Egypt's southern border, even though the river and the history kept going. Finally, Kush's own ending was quiet. Around 350 CE, the Kingdom of Aksum, in modern Ethiopia, invaded and delivered a decisive blow to a Meroe already weakened by resource depletion, shifting trade routes and internal strain. There was no dramatic last stand recorded for history the way Rome's fall was recorded. Kush simply faded, and the desert reclaimed its cities. Today, UNESCO recognizes the pyramids of Meroe as a World Heritage Site. Archaeologists, many of them Sudanese, continue to excavate, translate, and piece Kush's story back together. There are more pyramids in Sudan than in all of Egypt. Let that sit with you. Kush ruled Egypt. Kush armed itself with iron. Kush built its own alphabet and its own pyramids and its own gods. It wasn't a footnote to Egyptian history. It was one of Africa's great powers in its own right. It isn't lost because it wasn't significant. It's lost because the pen that writes history doesn't always belong to the people who lived it. The sands of Sudan are still holding on to secrets. The question is whether the world is finally ready to dig them up.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.